Hey guys, welcome back to Let's Talk. Thank you to everyone who tuned in to my last episode where we were talking about love and self-love and how many of us feel like we are undeserving of love because of certain experiences that we have gone through. Today, I want to talk about stewardship. Just going to go straight into it. So when we talk about stewardship, what are we talking about? So stewardship is, the dictionary definition is the careful and responsible management of something entrusted in one's care. And this is something that I'm currently learning in my life, like in all aspects of my life. I'm learning about stewardship. And I think one day, I was thinking over all the things I was asking God for and, all the different things that I wanted from him. And a question came in my head and it was, how am I stewarding the things he has currently given me? Am I stewarding them well? And I also remember having a conversation with my friend, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, where again I was talking about stewardship, about how am I stewarding the gifts God has given to me, or how am I stewarding money, things like that. How am I applying my resources, skills, times and gifts? Because these are things that we all have. We all have time. We all have resources, we all have skills, and we all have gifts. And it's not going to look identical to someone else, but we all have them. And sometimes we are so focused on the things that we don't have that we ignore the things that we do have. Like, we are so focused on what we want that we forget that we have a responsibility to manage what we currently have. And we are all made up of, let's say, habits, good habits, bad habits. And if you take a step back and look at your habits, it will actually show you the trajectory of your life. So in the book, Atomic Habits, I have not finished reading that book, but it has some good snippets of information there. But he said something. He was like, if you were to get 1% better every day for a year, you will be 37 times better by the end of the year. Yeah. Whereas if you were to get 1% worse each day for 1 year, you will decline nearly down to zero. And so a question I want to throw out there is, would you say you are getting better every day or worse every day? And only you can answer that. I had to have a conversation with myself where there were certain habits that I had that weren't benefiting me in any sort of way. And I had a conversation with myself because I've realized, I was like, if I look at these habits, I wouldn't say that I'm getting better every single day. I would say that I was actually getting worse. And I had to make the decision to change my habits. I had to make the conscious decision to make a change. And you may think, why am I talking about habits? We're meant to be talking about stewardship. Well, some of our habits will basically show how effective you are in managing the resources God has given you. Yeah. And how well you manage the smaller things will determine how well you manage the larger things. Like, one thing I want to say, like, why do we suddenly, it's like we believe in extremes. Let's say you are not really a tidy person. Why do you think suddenly you'll become a tidy person now when you live with someone else? Or if you're someone that struggles to steward your time, why do you think that if you do more things, automatically you're going to get better at stewarding your time? It's just not how things work. And don't get me wrong, there are times circumstances can force you to fix up, but it isn't always that easy. So I want to talk about different areas of our life that need stewardship and how we can, start stewarding them a lot better. So if we, first thing I want to talk about is time. And a question I'll throw out there is, how well do you manage your time? So how much time we have varies. We all have the same amount of time in the day, but how much time we have to spend on certain things basically varies based on the responsibilities that we have, the different stages we are in our lives, which is why I would say that it's not a one size fits all solution. It will always look different for each person. So there's no perfect way to structure your day in regards to stewarding your time. If you're not really sure whether you are managing your time well, ask yourself this question: what fruits is my time birthing? basically. Are you achieving the goals that you have set for yourself? Are you developing? Are you growing in your friendship? Are you growing in yourself? Are you growing in love? Whatever area you're trying to grow in, are you growing? If you find that there is an area that's lacking, it could be more time might need to be directed in that area. So you can't control the amount of time you get in a day, but you can control how you spend it. So how can you grow in stewarding your time? And one thing I would say is set goals and prioritize them. So not everything can be a priority at the same time. So what I would say is really sit down and think, okay, what is it that I want to achieve this month, this week, this year? And rank them based on priorities. So if, for example, your main focus is that you want to develop in a certain area, then you know that when you are planning out your day, you will allocate a lot more time in that area, because you know right now that's an area that you are prioritizing. Another thing I would say is plan your day or your week or your month, whatever type of person you are, like whatever works for you. So some people need something a little bit more rigid where there's less flexibility when it comes to planning. Some people need some flexibility, you know, if you have children, you have a partner, you know, you would need to plan around them. But once you kind of do your plan, just make sure that you stick to it, personalize it to you, because I've tried using other people's templates, and although it's like a very good guide and you can build up on it, but I've realized that I kept on failing because I was just trying to do it exactly the same way someone else was doing it. I wasn't personalizing it, and so I kept on failing, and then I would become very discouraged because I had failed at it. So that's why I'm really hammering the personalize it to you. Like, you know, whether you work better at night, or whether, you know, you're an early bird, you need to start your day at 6 a.m. and start working at that time. You know yourself, personalize it to you. Another thing I would say is start changing your habits little by little. So habits, you know, are usually an automated response. So something we don't really need to think about. When you wake up in the morning, this is for the people that do it all. You know, not everyone does it, but you know, you ain't gonna leave your house without showering or brushing your teeth. Maybe some people lay their bed. I'm not gonna lie, I don't. I should. But there are certain habits that we all have. Is an automatic thing, it's an automated thing. We don't really think about it. So start building some healthy habits to the point that you are using less effort to do these things. So if you want to, for example, if you want to become a little bit more tidy, one habit that you can put in place would be, okay, let's say you get a laundry basket and right now, let's say you throw your dirty clothes on the floor, and then that way the room becomes messy. You know, get a laundry basket, and you know, okay, when you're not wearing, you know, the clothes, you put them in the laundry basket, and you continue doing it until the activity becomes automated. So literally you don't even have to think about it. So you're using less effort to do it, and that way you can save time, because now you're not wasting time on cleaning your room because you've put in small you've put habits in place to make you use less time on these things, basically. So I really recommend reading the book Atomic Habits by James Clear, because he really breaks it down very well. Again, I haven't finished it, but the couple of chapters that I have read, they really were helpful. And the last thing I would say in regards to time is self-assess. So if you say you want to do something and you don't end up doing it, sit down and assess why it didn't happen. Did you spend too much time doing something else? Were you a little bit, you know, too rigid? Were you unrealistic in the goals that you set? Maybe you need to rejig some things, but you won't realize this until you sit down and you're honest with yourself and really think, okay, I said I wanted to do this, I haven't done this. I said I wanted to do this in this month, why haven't I done it? I said I wanted to save this amount of money in this month, why haven't I saved this amount of money? Assess. Become, you know, really be intentional about assessing your progress so that you can progress even more. Another area that we need to stewardship is my favorite, is gifts. And this is something we're all born with. So it's something you're naturally good at. So a gift is given It's just if you were to get someone a gift. So a gift is usually given by someone, right? So God has given us gifts, and He has given us gifts that need to be used. Yeah, He has not given you these things for them to just be laying dormant inside of you. He has given you certain things for you to use. And just because you're naturally good at something does not mean that you do not need to train in it. You have to become excellent in it. So if you do not steward your gift well, you will never kind of reach full capacity. You're going to end up capping yourself. So when a child is born, you expect it to grow, right? If it doesn't grow, then there's something that's obviously wrong there. If you're not growing in your gifting, then there is something wrong in how you're managing it. And if you just box yourself at the naturally good level, again, that's the level you'll stay at. You will never reach full capacity in your gifting if you don't manage it well. And one thing I've realized is that many of us are too busy comparing our gifts with other people's gifts that we start doing things because we start doing things that other people are good at, and we lose focus on how God intended us to use our gifts. You know, just because someone else sounds a certain way doesn't mean that's the way that you're meant to sound. Just because someone dances a certain way doesn't mean that's how you're meant to dance. Just because someone has a certain writing style doesn't mean that's the writing style that you're meant to have as well. And don't get me wrong, some people are a triple threat. Some people are even an octagon, English, or octagon threat. They have many gifts, but you still need to become, it's still your responsibility to become excellent in it. If you're not excellent in your craft, or you're not at least trying to become excellent in your craft, then there's something that you are doing wrong with how you are managing it. And one thing I want to address as well is that is this thing of, if you don't fall into the category of, let's say, a creative, you're not gifted. Like, for example, if you don't sing or dance, act, draw, etc., then it means that you're not gifted. That's not the case. Just because these are the gifts that are showcased doesn't mean that these are the only categories of gifting. And I think many of us need to sit down and really think, okay, I may not necessarily know how to sing or dance or act or do all of these things, but what other things am I naturally good at? Some people are naturally good at speaking. They're good. They're good communicators, or they're funny. They have a natural gift of comforting people, or event planning. Things like that. Once you've sat down and you've thought about, okay, what is it that I'm naturally good at? What is my natural gifting? Then you ask yourself the next question: how can I grow in it? Honestly, focus on your strengths. Stop trying to be like everyone else. Focus on the things that you are naturally good at, and you will see that you will grow a lot quicker when you're doing the things that you're actually meant to do, rather than trying to do it the way other people are doing it. Another area that we need to learn to steward is money. And this, even though in all of the areas I'm still learning in regards to stewardship, this money one, I am really still learning. But one thing I will say is that, why do many of us think that we will suddenly become good at managing money if we get more money? If you have bad spending habits now, with the little money that you have, you will still have bad spending habits when you get more money. The only difference is that you have more money to burn out. That is the only difference. And that's why in the beginning of this episode, I basically said that we are literally all made up of good and bad habits, and how we all like to work in extremes. If you're bad at something, when you have a small amount of it, just because now the size has increased doesn't mean that now suddenly you will get good habits or you'll get good spending habits. That's not how that's not how it works. So we need to really work to be intentional of managing the small things that we have, so that once we have the bigger things, once we have more money, we have cultivated certain skills that we can now apply to when we get more of that thing that we are asking for. Just one thing I would say in regards to this is that from the books that I'm reading in regards to finances, one thing again that they all of them have in common is that they always advise you to track everything that you're spending on, like everything. So look at your bank statements. How much money are you spending on coffees, how much money are you spending on cinema, food, things like that, and track it. And this is something that even now I don't even do. I need to do it, because I don't do it is because I don't want to look at my bank statements and see how much money I've just spent on useless things. I don't want to look at the fact that more money went out compared to the money that had come into my account. I don't really want to see it. But how can I improve in this certain area if I'm not aware of where I'm lacking? I can't choose ignorance and then expect to grow in the area. It's not how it works. We can't ignore spending habits and all of these things and then say, if with your in the same breath, that you want to be financially free. If you want to be financially free, then you need to put certain things in place for that thing to become a reality. You can't just say it and then your actions are saying something different. That's how you know if truly you believe what you're saying. If you say, yeah, I'm going to be financially free, and your actions do not match up with it, you truly don't believe that you're going to be financially free. Because if you did, your action would match up with it. That's all I'm saying. So I'll recommend some books. So the two books I'm currently reading are Black Girl in Finance and Girls That Invest. And another book that I would recommend is Thou Shalt Prosper. I haven't actually started this book, but my friend has, and he said that it was quite good. And then the last area of stewardship that I want to talk about is our health, our body, our environment, things like that. And a question that I'll throw out would be, how well do you manage your health, body and mind? Like what you eat. You are responsible for yourself, for your growth and for your care. We say your body, well, the Bible says your body is the temple of God. So it matters. What you put into your body matters. What you feed your mind also matters, because I think that's something that is maybe pushed to the side, that yes, our physical body is a temple, but that includes our mind as well. Like, how do you think about yourself? How well do you manage your emotions? And in one of the books that I was reading, it said that emotions are your brain's attempt to explain and attach meaning to what is going on in your world and your body, and it uses memories of what has happened in the past to try and make sense of them. What does that mean? It means that your feelings are not factual information, and so we cannot be led by them. And in Psalms 43 verse 5, David asked the question, why are you cast down, O my soul, and why are you in turmoil within me? Hope in God, for I shall again praise him, my salvation, my God. Looking at this, if we look at what David did, the first thing he did was literally acknowledgement. So he acknowledged how he felt. The second things he did was he questioned, why are you cast down, O my soul? Why was he feeling the way he was feeling? But he didn't stop there. The third thing that he did was he spoke to himself and he told himself to hope in God. He was not led by his emotions. He led his emotions. He managed them. So managing your emotions, again, it's your responsibility. How well you manage it is your responsibility. How well you manage, your health, your body, that's also your responsibility as well. And I'm not gonna lie, even in regards to, managing emotion, I'm not gonna lie, it's not always easy. And I can tell you for free, I can talk on this in regards to managing emotion. I can talk on this. So on secondary school, my mood was up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And I had to really learn, and I'm still learning in regards to managing my emotions. One thing I would recommend, so in this book, always be, I feel like in this episode I've just been saying in this book, but the book is called Why Has No One Told Me This Before by Dr. Julie Smith, and I recommend this book. It has many tools in regards to how to like manage your mood, how to manage thoughts that come into your head, your emotions, things like this. And this week actually I read a chapter, and one tool that they advised using was a fact check tool. So this is for someone who, let's say, they get anxious thoughts or thoughts inside their head that make them feel a certain type of way. So what they recommend is that, let's say the thought comes in, get a paper, write down the thought, and then create 2 columns. One column is for evidence that backs up that thought, right? And it can only be classed as evidence if it can stand up in a court of law. So that's the first column. You write down evidence that backs what you're thinking. You then, in the second column, you write down evidence that proves that this thought is not a fact. Yeah, and you do that. And if you find that the thought in your head is less factual than you believed, then you have to, then at least you can open up your mind to alternative interpretations. I feel like that's a very good thing, because sometimes a thought just comes into our head and we just run with it without actually looking at evidence to see if anything backs it up. And so you know how earlier on I said that emotions, literally your body uses memories to kind of put meaning to the emotions that you're feeling. So if, for example, something has happened to you in the past and your body, your heart started to palpitate, your stomach dropped, things like that. If now in the future something, your body is feeling the same type, the same way, where your heart is palpitating, your stomach has dropped, your brain is going to go back to that memory of the thing that has happened and run with it. That's how emotions work. And so I feel like this fact check tool would be very, very useful in regards to, I'm not going to lie, I'm going to try it. I haven't tried it yet, but I'm definitely going to try it. And you will find that all these areas actually directly affect the other area. So if I give you an example, let's say you're focusing on health and you're eating well, that could lead to you getting less takeouts, which would lead to you spending less money on takeout. So that will help you in regards to managing your money. Let's say you are working on the health of your mind, you will find that you have more time to focus on growing in your gifts, because you are spending less time comparing yourself to other people or trying to do things like other people. Now that you are focused on growing in your gifts, your giftings, you will become more disciplined, which will result in you managing your time a lot better. Literally, they're all connected. They're all connected. So let's be intentional with how we are applying our resources, our skills, our gifts, and our time. Let's do it in a way that's pleasing to God. Let's be good stewards. Yeah. So thank you guys for listening to this episode. Let's talk.